Welcome back to the Hudney's Fantasy Football Podcast. This is the Week 14 Studs and Duds episode. I got my dogs with me here, MFB
Yes, sir.
and BBTB.
Yep.
And this week was crazy. Some of these guys either won you your week or you got smacked. Hopefully you got into playoffs. If you didn't, I feel your pain because I played the first number one QB stud, Josh Allen, 51.88 fantasy points. And knocked me out of playoffs in one of my leagues. So that was fun. 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
Josh Allen do Josh Allen things. He's either scoring 6 or he's scoring a double TD on one play or something.
Man. Yeah, he threw himself a touchdown last week and then scored 6 this week. He's on one. He gets engaged and then just goes crazy.
I need that man to keep it up.
You know what I'm saying?
I literally need that.
559.
He literally got me my first seed in my fantasy football playoffs. So Josh Allen keeps doing it.
So, quick question, not to dwell on it for too long. Does he go as the first QB next year? He was going at the end of round 2, beginning round 3.
Him or Lamar? Him or Lamar? Still.
Okay. All right. I think he goes. He was probably going first.
Josh Allen was the first QB going this year.
Yeah, I think he does it again. I think again next year. These 2 games already showed just the ridiculous stuff he's going to pull off. It's like betting on him to just have a bad year. If you think that, he lost, Stephon Diggs, but he doesn't have that many weapons, blah, blah, blah. No, he's still doing it, bro.
He's great at spreading the ball all over the field.
Mm-hmm.
So also a really good runner. So
yeah, it's, man, it ruined my whole fantasy playoff chance. Next on the list, Sam Darnold, 34.58 fantasy points. That team's moving, man. They're trying to catch up to the Lions.
They are chasing the Lions. It's been like that the whole season. But this game with the Falcons, right? The Falcons have been getting stomped through the air.
Yeah.
Absolutely manhandled. 5 touchdowns, a wild game. Jay Jettis went dumb. Jordan Addison went dumb. I was pretty much a week late on my JJ crazy call.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's looking like Atlanta's still in the race for a future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Kirk will have better games. He threw 2 picks,
Yeah.
Decent yardage though. So we got to see what happens. The NFC South is wide open still.
Yeah.
With
sure.
With this is a good thing for as a fantasy owner. Pretty much Minnesota needs to win out, and I think they play the Lions the last game of the season or the second to last game of the season. So what I'm trying to say is that Minnesota is going to be trying their butt off week 15, 16, and 17, try to keep winning games to try to take the NFC North because they're only 1 game behind, and so if they beat the Lions, then they'll jump the line at 1 seed. So if I have Minnesota players, I'm happy.
Yep, agreed. Next on the list, Joe Burrow, 24.56 fantasy points on Monday night. Struggled at first a little bit, but him and Jamar Chase doing their thing week in, week out.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing new. Just to be 5-8.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but honestly, these guys are they're playing to just have fun. Because I think Joe Burrow last week was asked in a press conference interview, hey, you guys are a reporter asked him, hey, you guys are pretty much out of playoffs. What do you think about that? And he literally said, playoffs is the last thing out of, it's in the back of my head. And all I care about is just playing football and having fun. I was literally at his press conference. So I don't know, it's a plus sign for me.
For Joe Burrow, yes. The Bengals mathematically still have a tiny chance with this win. Albeit it's not a large chance, right? Because they are 3rd in the division, right? But I'm worried about Chase in the picture. right?
I was going to bring him up.
He's not on a contract, right? Or he's looking for a contract. So like, would he still risk playing? Like, is he just that cool with Joe Burrow to keep playing? You know what I'm saying?
I personally think he'll still keep playing because he's probably trying to be paid the highest receiver in the league. And for him to do that, he needs to play games, stay healthy, and look good. And obviously, he's been doing that.
Yeah, but man, I feel like he already proved that, bro. He's had.
I agree with that.
I mean, I thought he proved it last year, but obviously they didn't give him the contract.
Last year he had some quiet games last year.
He's like doubling himself from last year, bro. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. This year he's been kind of on one, so I kind of agree with MMB.
Well, it's just something to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to say
a lot of fantasy relevant players on this team specifically who could be eliminated fully with any loss, right, at this point. So definitely something to look out for, right? They do get the Titans next week, which is like a fun old pass defense. So they could have another crazy game. We'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, I'd just be worried about the week 17 finals against Denver. Like, do they even try? Do they need to try? Like, you know what I mean? Like you said, I think Ja'Marr Chase already proved himself. I don't think he needs to go out there and go bananas week 17 of the NFL. You know what I mean? Like they know they're not going to win. He probably wants to make sure he stays healthy. If he gets injured, that severely impacts his chances, or like he'll still get a contract, right? But it changes things.
Yeah. With that being said, Denver will probably be trying their ass off to get wild card or something.
Yeah, it won't be too hard for them against that terrible Cincinnati defense. But yeah, I don't think Cincinnati's going to be really trying to keep up with them. But we'll see. Next on the list, Jalen Hurts, 24.22 fantasy points. Got a push touchdown, and that helped inflate his score. If you didn't get that.
The push has been single-handedly saving his value, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the homie's rushing decently, not amazing, but he has not thrown the ball a lot. Something we've talked about, and I thought it would have evened out by now, but it's kind of not evening out. He hasn't had 30 pass attempts since week 4, right?
Wow.
And after week 4, his average pass attempts is at 21.
Yeah, man.
But which is very low.
Are you worried if you have him going into playoffs?
No. And I'll explain why.
Please.
They play good defenses coming up week 15 and 16. Week 15, they play the best defense technically in the league, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Pittsburgh has a great run defense, but obviously they have Saquon Barkley in that really good O-line. But if they want to win the game, they got to throw the ball in the air. And so I feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be throwing the ball a significant amount of times, plus the tush push in the end zone. So I feel like he should have a great week next week.
That's, you're speculating. It all makes sense, right? I mean, it made sense. You're playing against Carolina. They're going back and forth, kind of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's always situations that they're in that you're like, oh, they should go crazy. Jalen Hurts should have a fine game, right? Like Carolina's been great for QBs. Baltimore, great matchup for QBs.
Mm-hmm.
And in that game, no tush push for him. Or he had a tush push against Baltimore, but like he only had one passing touchdown, only threw for 118 yards, 19 pass attempts. Like, I just think that their defense is keeping them in it. And if teams can't score on them, then he doesn't need to throw the ball, and they don't scheme up plays for him. A friend of mine, a big Eagles fan, he mentioned that for some reason, the Eagles never seem to just throw down, like pound on a team. Like we've seen the Lions, they beat the Dallas Cowboys at home 52-8 or 52-6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That should have been the Eagles. They were up by like 3 touchdowns or something at third quarter, and they just sat everyone. It's like, dude, this is your division rival. Make a statement. I think they were in Dallas too. Like, dude, make a statement out of it. But nope. They're like, nope, everyone rest, everyone relax, everyone chill out. So
I get what you're saying,
yeah.
But this is like Pittsburgh defense. Like Pittsburgh is a legit defense that's playing very good defense.
I could see it going that way. They're playing amazing defense. It could also be a game where like Pittsburgh offense isn't like, they're okay. They're getting the job done.
Yeah.
Right.
Pittsburgh
George
offense
Pickens. We saw some very interesting offensive players get the ball and touch the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like Pittsburgh passing without George Pickens, if he's out again, like Eagles probably just like, I don't know, pick him apart. Like there's no like big playmaker to go through the defense. So it could be like, defense really kind of catches them up, field goal type game, and then they keep running the ball and Jalen Hurts doesn't throw again.
Yep.
But
that's what I see.
In other news, Eagles did clinch wild card with that win, right? Yeah. So they got a playoff spot. Obviously they'll still be gunning for the first seed. So,
the way that they're moving the ball, I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're getting to the Super Bowl even. I'll be honest. Just the way that Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball like 20 times a game. And I think if he needs to throw more than that, he's not throwing enough to feel comfortable. And he doesn't play that well when he's down, he plays just fine when they're up, but when they're down, it's like he looks, kind of pedestrian. So anyways, we'll see more of Jalen Hurts as these weeks go on, and we'll talk about him. Either we will or we won't, depending on how he does. Tua, next on the list, or last on the list for QBs, 23.54 fantasy points. That team is fighting for a playoff spot, and they're going to keep fighting. So if you have Tua, you're probably, he didn't do crazy this game, but you're probably happy that, they're trying to get wins.
Yeah. Tua's just, man, they've been going dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Tua, Jonnu Smith, obviously, who we've talked about, Jalen Waddle, who's finally kind of coming back online. If you somehow picked him up, somebody dropped him, or if you bought him very low, which is kind of what I was trying to call out like a couple weeks ago. He's been doing good, but Tua's been scoring at least 23 points in all the last 4 games, which is a really, really good stretch. They are on a tough road to try to get wild card, right? The Bills already clinched their division. They're sitting at 6 wins. They get Texans next week. Could be a match, man. Could be a match of sorts. Tua's looking up.
They're looking. I feel like he's looking for like a comeback season. Got injured, terrible injury. Everyone thought he was going to be. People were like, "Oh, is he going to retire?" I thought he was going to retire. I was like, "Bro, just stop hurting yourself. And quit." But he's like, "Nope, I want to keep playing." He said, "There's no chance I retire." He came back and has been playing very solid overall since he got back. So I think it's kind of like this. He's trying to make this comeback story kind of happen, and make it to the playoffs, make it to the Super Bowl if they can. So yeah, they're playing with heart right now. So
yeah,
that's it for the QB studs. Let's move on to the wide receiver studs. This name is very familiar. Ja'Marr Chase, 38.1 fantasy points. He is having himself a season.
An absolute season. That man's going to be the highest paid player next year. You'll just watch and see. He is
Ja'Marr Chase or Jay Jettis next year in the draft.
Number 1, Ja'Marr Chase. Number 1, solidified. In my head. Done.
I like Ja'Marr Chase more because the QB is the same. We don't know what's going to happen because they had McCarthy over there in Minnesota and they drafted him. Maybe he sits behind Sam Darnold and they let him kind of like learn how we saw Jordan Love do behind, Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, Sam Darnold's no Aaron Rodgers, but still you learn from sitting behind a quarterback that, Sam Darnold's been slinging it. So, I still feel more comfortable in a situation where they have a connection. T. Higgins is probably leaving next year.
I'm laughing too when I hella doubted Sam Darnold.
What's crazy is I didn't watch a lot of preseason. I'll be honest. I didn't have time, but you were saying oh, he looks terrible. I was like, I thought he was a decent QB, but I guess not. I took your word for it.
Last year he was playing on the Panthers, and so when they benched Bryce Young or something, Sam Darnold was the guy to step up. And
but he did decent. I feel like he wasn't terrible. But then MFV was saying preseason he looks lost out there, and I was like, all right. I mean, I take your word for it.
He did, bro.
He
found his way.
Right?
He found his way.
Hey, there you go, man. We're seeing Bryce Young step up too. So
but pretty much we're saying Ja'Marr Chase unanimous over Jay Jettis next year. Pretty much unanimous over anyone, I suppose. Yeah, at this point. So
I don't know about anyone because you also got Barkley there. So Chase.
We'll have to wait and see.
I was just talking receiver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see more as the things go off, as things happen in the off season. Next on the list, Puka Nacua, 35.8 fantasy points. He went crazy in that. That was a shootout, man. Rams, Bills. I didn't think he was going to get that crazy. I think his total points scored was 86? It was 44-42.
It was a crazy high scoring game.
Insane.
Puka been going nuts, bro. All games completed, he's averaging like 23 PPR points per game, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So that boy is a dog. Post injury, came back healthy. And he looks to be like the alpha, even with Cooper Kupp there. So
it's so funny that you say that I was actually avoiding Puka in drafts because I was worried about the impact that Cooper Kupp was going to have, and taking targets from him and things like that. Then he got injured and I was like, oh, man, really glad I didn't take him. I was avoiding him for the wrong reasons, right?
I was avoiding him because of injury more so. Not so much about Cooper Kupp. But I mean, he's fine. Looks like he's fine.
Yeah, looks good. Yeah,
he got back. He's a dog, bro. He is.
I don't know if you guys remember, but remember when I kept saying, if the Rams finally have their healthiest team, their healthiest roster with Puka, Kupp, Kyren Williams, and obviously Stafford and their O-line, that team is going to be a threat offensively. They finally have their guys, so going into the playoff fantasy season, that's a very, very plus. So,
and that division is still a bit close. Cardinals lost to Seattle. Cardinals, I don't want to talk about them until we get into like the duds category. But anyways, that division is still kind of close. So there's still
it was a big win for the Rams. They're still a game behind Seattle. They get the Niners this Thursday night football, which could be a crazy game. Decent implied total.
So
that's in Santa Clara, right?
That is.
It's Niners are.
I'm not sure.
I think
real quick on the.
Yes, it is. It is in Santa Clara.
Okay.
Just real quick on the Rams. If the Rams win out, and obviously the Seattle Seahawks went out all the way up until Week 18, the Seahawks play the Rams. If the Rams win, they take the division.
Damn.
If the Seahawks win, obviously Seahawks take the division. So
damn.
They're fighting.
That'd be pretty
15, hard. 16, 17. So I'm saying fantasy owners, Seattle owners, Rams owners, very fire if you have those players.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have players in a division that's competitive and close, and like teams are like close to each other, because then you end up with these teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, and they're all firing on all cylinders. Which, as we've seen with Puka and the Rams, they're firing on all cylinders. Next on the list, Jordan Addison, 3 touchdowns, 35.3 fantasy points. He has stepped up tremendously this year.
Straight dogged Atlanta. Yeah, he's had a couple games. I mean, here's the statistic: is he's had 3 30-plus games in his career. 2 of these 3 games happened over the last 3 weeks.
30-plus fantasy points, you're saying?
30-plus fantasy points.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
crazy,
just, man. It's a nutty statistic. Yeah, man. Sam Darnold, low-key, he's a really good receiver. As like a secondary option.
Do you think?
But it's just hard to trust.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he benefits because Justin Jefferson takes the defense towards him and away from Addison?
He's still pretty good, even like man to man. Like he plays on the other side of Justin Jefferson. So I mean, is he good enough to win in doubled coverage? Probably. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
Debatable, right?
But like as a one-on-one situation, he's a great receiver, man.
Yeah, good compliment to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Personally, I was just going to say, it just comes down to coaching. Like, I think coaching, having, like, obviously Jay Jettis, dog, you know what I'm saying? But, like, when your coach is, like, just, I don't know, like, coaching up schemes for all these different kind of players and different kinds of players are coming alive, the players just look so good. Like, look at the Lions. Like, you got Tim Patrick. Don't even know where that homie came from. And
he came from the Broncos, by the way. But yeah.
Exactly.
He did come from the Broncos. That's right.
probably receiver or something. Like, you know what I'm saying?
He's a third year. He was injured last year, right? With the ACL or something?
Yeah, I have no clue. But what I'm saying is when you have a good, really, really good coach, dudes start to come online, you know? So,
Pause.
Coaching is big. Coaching is very big.
Addison could be solid for the rest of the season.
So, next on the list, funny enough, Justin Jefferson, 28.7 fantasy points, back-to-back.
He been solid, bro. He been solid.
Does what it do, man.
Vikings doing incredibly well. Still second in the division, bro. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They do get the Bears next week. The Bears have
fallen off.
Yeah, we don't got to talk about the Bears, but it is a division. It is a divisional match. Funny enough, the Bears have they're not mathematically eliminated, but they pretty much are.
A couple of teams like that.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of teams like that. Yeah, Saints being one of them. Anyways,
yeah.
But who knows, bro? Maybe the divisional rivals want to put up a fight. You know what I'm saying? We'll see how it goes.
The Bears could bounce back. They got smacked against the.
They got destroyed by the Niners. It was kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. That was a whole different ordeal.
Yeah. Speaking of the Niners, Juwan Jennings, 24.5 fantasy points.
Menace dog, the new number
alpha
one
receiver, man.
San Francisco 49ers. Debo is. I got no words, bro. I don't know. I don't think I ever said buy Debo, trade for Debo, draft Debo. Nope. But if I did, you could roast me. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but you could roast me.
You know, it's funny. Since Ayuk got injured, Juwan Jennings has really stepped up. But I feel like when Ayuk got injured, Deebo Samuel stepped down. It's weird. Like, he has not been good in the last.
He looks sloppy, bro. I'm not going to cap. He just doesn't look like Deebo of last year, you know?
Do you think that he just felt like when Ayuk got injured and then McCaffrey not being here, do you think he was like, man, this season's chalked? Like, just whatever. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't.
I just think like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest.
Yeah. Either way, Juwan Jennings has really stepped up in that offense. He looks good. Next on the list, Tyreek Hill, 23.1 fantasy points.
Finally.
We both said it. Yeah.
Mr. Outside top 7 is finally back.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I'm should be right by the end of the year, but I called him preseason out of top 7. So
yeah, not worth his draft cap.
Lie right before playoffs if you haven't.
Yeah, if you held strong and you had to hold really strong because that was probably one of your top. Obviously, your first pick for your team if you have him.
Yeah.
He's paying out finally.
Yeah. I was just you really hope that they keep winning games. Their playoff probability isn't high. It's 13%. But that's still a shot. But if they lose a game, it's probably diving downwards. So you got to hope they keep Tyreek online.
Yep. Just real quick. I think they win out for the rest of the games, so they're just going to be firing on all cylinders. So really good.
That's the hope.
These players.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
That they do continue to fire on all cylinders and they continue to win. So prayers for the Dolphins to keep winning so that their players go crazy and then, it produces fantasy for us.
Yep.
Next on the list, Devontae Adams, 21.4 fantasy points.
He's done pretty well since getting traded to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 69 targets since traded to the Jets. Garrett Wilson has 61 during that time. So they've been splitting pretty even target share. They've both been kind of doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think, are they mathematically eliminated?
Yes.
It's pretty close.
They are mathematically.
They actually are mathematically
eliminated. Yes.
After that loss to the Dolphins.
After the loss to the divisional loss. Yep. So, man, you just got to wonder what's going to happen there now.
I mean, they sat Brees.
Man,
he's not doing well.
I'm a Brees owner, man. Stressful.
Look, I think as a Brees owner, tough. For Devontae Adams, he came there to play with Aaron Rodgers, so he's gonna keep playing.
Fun, man.
Exactly. He's gonna go out there, have fun. He's not gonna go crazy. He could. Any given week, he could just be like, "Hey, you know what, bro? Let's go out there and just have fun and go crazy. Get himself a couple touchdowns."
Yeah.
For fantasy, you hope, but
they do get the Jags next week, so we'll see what they could do. in that game. Not looking to be a high scoring game, but we'll see.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers and them go, hey, you know what? It's all over. We can't make the playoffs. Let's just have fun with it. And they end up going off. Who knows? Next on the list, just bonus player, Jalen McMillan, the rookie on Tampa Bay, caught himself, I think, 2 touchdowns that game. 19.9 fantasy points, just underneath the limit for studs, but we threw him in there as a bonus. That'll do it for the wide receiver studs. Let's move on to the RB studs. At the very top, Zach Charbonnet, 34.8 fantasy points.
Damn, bro.
Stepped in very nicely.
Made the Cardinals look like pee-wee football out there.
Oh, no, please.
This man is one of the best handcuffs probably to have in football.
Yeah.
You have him and you plugged him in, you are feeling great. And you're probably praying Kenneth Walker's out again. He had a 76% rush share and 24% target share versus Arizona. Kenneth Walker has only hit this kind of target share once in his career.
Sheesh.
So that boy, Zach Charbonnet, unlocked.
Zach Charbonnet is the passing back there when Kenneth Walker's playing, like on third down passing.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, that's
true. That's what MLB is saying, kind of with no Kenneth Walker, then he gets the best of both worlds. You get the rushes and the catching. So, yeah, very nice. These guys, all these top studs, any of these studs probably either won you your week or you lost because you played against these guys. If you played against Zach Charbonnet, Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Puka, I'm sorry. If you had them on your team, woo! Hyped.
Yeah.
Woo-wee. But yeah, he looked good. If you have him and you're in playoffs now, you're probably hoping that you get to play him again next week. Mm-hmm. I'll wait till we get to the duds to talk about the Cardinals. On to the next on the list. Isaac Guerendo for the Niners stepped in nicely, 25.8 fantasy points. Did end up getting injured in that game. Mm-hmm. Do you guys know the injury, the extent of it, if it's serious?
Yeah, they said it was a foot sprain.
Okay.
So,
I mean, they're on their third string. The fourth string is like Pierre Strong or some, I don't even know.
It's Patrick Taylor.
Okay.
Which, we'll cover more in the waiver wire episode. Mm-hmm. But I believe it's Patrick Taylor. Okay. And the magnitude of this foot strain will be evaluated, in the next day or so.
Okay.
But he was, we saw him when, at the time when C-Mac was injured, he was doing really well.
I think
he's a great RB. And Shanahan loves using his RBs, pounding the other opposing defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like a dog. Honestly, if he's somehow not on a different team next year, like as a second string or even a first string, I don't know. He plays like a dog because obviously Christian McCaffrey's going to be there. Mason's been on that team for a long time. I think Guerendo might get traded, so he just plays like.
What if the Niners get rid of McCaffrey? They're like, all right, bro, we're done with you.
Well, the way they run their offense, you don't even need McCaffrey. I'm just being hella real. Even though, don't get me wrong, McCaffrey's a dog.
No, he's nuts.
You've seen just guys step up, like Jordan Mason all year stepped up.
Yep.
Those two went down. Isaac Guerendo. You know what I'm saying? Now they had this Tommy Taylor. Taylor had 7 touches, 25 yards, and a tutty. I know that's not much, but that was towards the end of the game. Like,
yeah, they're on their 4th string running back, and he's still scoring a touchdown. So
I'm saying, so it's like you don't.
It's that system, right? The Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what they do in the offseason. Next on the list, Josh Jacobs, 24.6 fantasy points. That was on Thursday night against the Lions.
MFB
3 touchdowns.
Sit of the week. Fire sit of the week.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he went. He's been going nuts. He's finished his top 5 in 5 of the last 6 games.
Yeah.
So
I tried to call him.
Seattle next week. But go ahead. You call him.
I tried to call him coming back to earth 2 weeks ago, or like not this last week, the week before. Didn't work. You tried to call him coming back to earth.
Yeah, we'll
this
see,
week,
man. He's having a mix in a stretch right now. So
yeah,
going crazy.
But yeah, like you said, he gets Seattle next week, so it should be a good running game.
Yep.
On to Rachaad White, 23.9 fantasy points. Bucky Irving got injured in that game.
Oh,
man.
Bucky season didn't last too long, my boys.
Last a week and a
half. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rachaad White. I mean, I'm guessing Rachaad White's mainly picked up. If Sean Tucker's out there, definitely grab him. But Rachaad White outsnapped Tucker 47 snaps to 11, and he ran 3 times the routes. But maybe Sean Tucker maybe gets mixed in more. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he stepped in. Rachaad White stepped in because Bucky Irvin got injured. That's kind of why he's here.
They do get a stingy Chargers defense next week, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, something to look out for. Next on the list, Kyren Williams in that crazy game against the Bills, 22.7 fantasy points. Did his thing. Yep.
He's seeing a really good amount of carries, 29 carries. You love to see that. Hasn't hit more than 10% target share in 4 games. Not the best. You don't want to see that. But the Rams, not too much do they target RBs in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's kind of normal. Kyren still eats. So,
look,
yeah.
All Rams players, if you have a Rams player that's obviously one of the studs, play him, dude. Like you're happy. You're obviously gonna play him. You're happy. Yeah, dude. They look really, really good offensively. All healthy, chilling.
Yeah. Funny enough, on the studs or the Rams players, we had Puka in the studs, but no. What's his name?
Cooper Kupp.
No, not Cooper Kupp. We had no Stafford in the studs. Yeah, and then we had Josh Allen with almost 52 fantasy points, but none of the Bills players in the studs list, RB or wide receiver. So he really spread the ball around. Yeah, that's crazy. Just looking
been spreading the ball around crazy.
Yeah, wild. In a game with 6, that's crazy. Anyways, next on the list, Chase Brown, 21.3 fantasy points. I love Baby TV's been really high on him.
I love that, man. Ever since Zach Moss, IR, I literally said trade CeeDee Lamb for Chase Brown. Craziest takes I've ever said.
Happened. One of the craziest takes, but yeah, no, I was dude, doubting that one.
I know you were. I'm like, dude, the offense moving.
What happens in these next few weeks? I mean, they won this game, sure, but if they lose the next game, who do they play next week?
I'll tell you right now. They play next week the Tennessee Titans. That's going to be a field day for that, man.
Yeah. I still think they're eventually going to be mathematically eliminated. How the offense moves after that, who knows? But Chase Brown's been playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
Stepped up very nicely.
Yep.
Last on the list, James Conner, 20.2 fantasy points. You know, when you're losing to your division rival, you just hand the ball off to James Conner and run the clock down. That's genius play calling there. Just keep handing the ball to James Conner. Give as many rushes as possible. Run the clock down. You know, don't give the other team a chance to score even more on you. 18 carries, like, oh man, genius play calling by the Cardinals, man. Just absolutely love it. Yeah. So James Conner had a field day against the Seattle Seahawks. I guess Josh Jacobs will do the same next week, if not even better.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, James Conner, he looked good. It was a solid game for him. But yeah, nothing else about the Cardinals.
Chilling.
I had to just vent a little bit. Onto the tight end studs at the very top. George Kittle, 18.1, bouncing back after that snow game.
Yeah, and with C-Mac hurt, bro. Without C-Mac, he has a target share of 23.5%. So he thrives without C-Mac, bro. They look to him every game. So
yeah, I'm gonna need that homie to chill out next week because I play him against the playoffs.
Man, I feel like he's gonna go stupid at Thursday Night Football on the Rams. I'm not gonna lie to you.
At home, yeah,
you gotta chill out.
Hey, I called him in the start to start him this week. I mean, obviously you start him, but yeah, you did for sure. Yeah, I just figured after the snow game, he made a comment. Pay attention when players make comments like that, like when they're irritated or annoyed that they didn't get the ball or they didn't get involved in the offense. It's usually a big sign that they're gonna get involved next game. So
yeah, comments after a game and revenge games. Look out for those two. whatever that is, start anyone. They should go.
Yeah. They tend to go crazy, yes, but sometimes they don't. But yeah, you have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, David Njoku, 13.7 fantasy points. Did his thing.
He's been seeing a lot of the balls in the air with the Browns. He led the Browns with 13 targets, and he saw 30 targets over his last 2 games, which gives him a target share of 30 and 35% in each of those games, bro. So he's like the top look on the Browns offense.
Yeah.
Sadly, they are mathematically eliminated. Jameis Winston will still praise the Lord and throw the ball.
I was just about to
praise the Lord.
I love Jameis Winston, man. I just love him. You can't hate the guy. He's still playing to play. He knows he's out. I love his pregame speeches. What you call it? And everyone's still there to play too. Like they're probably out, but they're still loving football. So I don't know. Liking a lot of the Browns passing core, I should say.
I mean, some of them are playing for a contract, right? Isn't Judy only on a 1 year?
No. He signed something fat. Like 3
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he low-key got paid.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, then he's just chilling then. But yeah, Njoku did his thing. Good part of that offense. Next on the list, BBTB start of the week for tight end, Juwan Johnson. 13 fantasy points, man.
Man, I always saying Juwan Johnson this, Juwan Johnson that. Called them perfectly.
Isn't this his first stud performance this season?
Yeah, it is, but I called him. Called him out.
All right, you've been calling him since preseason, man. But no, it was a good call. It was Saints fan, dedicated. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Saints.
Yep.
Pat Freiermuth, next on the list, 12.3 fantasy points. That was MLB's start of the week. Got himself in the end zone. Got a touchdown. Did his thing. He's been solid the last 2 weeks, I think. Scored, last weekend, this week. And he'll look to keep it up as the Steelers move on. Keep winning.
If George Pickens doesn't play next week, dude, he can be a fire start next week if he's somehow on your waivers. So,
yeah, he should be solid.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely need him especially when George Pickens isn't there, and especially against the Eagles.
Yep.
Next on the list, or last on the list, Jonnu Smith, who I think had a donut before overtime.
Yep.
And then
he had a
donut for 4 quarters. And then one drive, just all Jonnu.
4 targets, 3 receptions, 44 yards, and the game-winning touchdown.
If you were playing against Jonnu Smith, you were probably excited until they went to overtime.
And then just depressed.
Exactly. Man.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's terrible if you played against him. And if you had him, you probably looked at closed your phone and looked at it later and was like, oh, what? When did he get all these points? What happened? Solid game for Jonnu Smith. He's been, I mentioned it before in other episodes, Tua, he's been one of Tua's favorite targets. I feel like he likes to look his way. And last game, I think Jets are one of the better defenses against tight ends. We'll have to see what they do against Houston, but as long as they're trying to win, you want Dolphins players.
Yep.
Hopefully they keep winning. That'll do it for the studs. Let's move on to the duds. Let's try and move through these quick. There's not too many of them, but we'll call out the important ones. Starting with the QBs at the very top, Geno Smith, 13.2 fantasy points. A tough Cardinals defense. They still won the game, but anyways.
Yeah, simple. Geno Smith, don't play him for the rest of the season. Has a tough matchup. There's better quarterback options. Very simple.
Agreed. Justin Herbert, who got hurt against the Chiefs, 13.72 fantasy points. Didn't do his thing. But injury, we'll attribute that to injury.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams. Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, just not worried for him. I think you should start him if you still have him next week. He plays Tampa Bay.
Justin Herbert or Tua rest of the season?
Tua.
Okay, cool. Because we have both of them in our league, ESPN league, by the way.
Oh yeah, we're
next on the list, Caleb Williams, 14.06 fantasy points.
Oh man, did you see that statistic where it was like a halftime? The Niners had, or was it Brock Purdy had 319 yards, There was something that was like 319 yards versus 4 yards.
Yeah. Saw it.
No way.
Saw it.
That's crazy. Man.
Was that yards of offense or passing yards?
Passing yards? It had to be
passing yards.
Passing yards. Okay,
because Swift was.
I'm letting you know that was the same thing that happened in the Lions game. He had like close to a single digit amount of passing yards in the first half, and then he turned up in the second half.
Yeah.
So
it's so weird, man. He did that against the Lions.
When I literally
we called it out. Yeah, we called it out. Like he's a second half player. Like he just, I don't know what it is. Like just the like, all right, game's over. Let's just have fun. Just goes out there and like try and come back, and then start slaying it, I guess. But still, ended up on the duds. Not enough against the Niners at home. Patrick Mahomes, next on the list, 14.1 fantasy points. Tough Chargers defense, divisional game. They still ended up winning.
They win the games in
most.
Did you see the game winning? Did you see the game winning drive, Kimo?
Did not.
Let me tell you, bro. They set up for a field goal. Okay. Literally kicks it, doinks off the side in. Chiefs win.
That's crazy.
Brother,
that's crazy.
There was so many missed holding calls on the last drive. It was crazy. And I'm letting you know, people on social media are going crazy that the right tackle, it had me all the week. The right tackle has been offsides for 2 years. That's literally what they're saying. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the right tackle moves. He moves first, then the ball gets snapped for like 0.2 or 3 seconds. I don't know if you've been seeing it, but I've been seeing it.
Man,
he's not on the count.
The worse violations than the Fresno Bulls football game. Anyway,
hey, wait, what? Yeah, the Chiefs just keep winning. Mahomes signed a deal with the devil. Do not cross him, or you will get
the whole organization sold their soul, man.
Something happened there. Taylor Swift came into town and just
Oh yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I have no words for that team. They suck. On to actually one more dud. 14.54 fantasy points for Jordan Love. He played a tough Lions defense, man. And you had Josh Jacobs on the ground taking a lot of touchdowns. So, ended up, not a very good fantasy day. But
Jordan Love, he's a stud. It's just, you kind of got unlucky with the Josh Jacobs stealing the tutties because he was playing really, really well against a good Lions defense. So they played Seattle. And so I was just going to say that should be a fire game for him next week.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep trying to jump in. I was going to just say that Jordan Love didn't get a chance to do a game-winning drive, like a last-minute drive or anything. The Lions just ran the clock down. Montgomery got the first down, and then the Lions won the game.
Dan Campbell has some balls.
Oh, yeah. And they were going to go for the kick and leave Green Bay with some time. They said, nope, let's just run it. It was 4th and 1. It was close. It was a risky play, but it paid out. They had Jared Goff fell and handed the ball off to Montgomery. He got the first down, and the game was pretty much over. But yeah, if they had gotten one more drive, I bet you would have had like 20 plus fantasy points.
Yep.
Onto the wide receiver duds at the very top to go along with Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, donut.
Crazy.
Do you start him? Are you scared to start him in the playoffs?
I'm scared as hell to start him. Listen, bro. He ran just a little bit of route data.
Sure.
He ran 15 routes. Christian Watson ran 22, and Dontavian Wicks ran 18. Jaden Reed had the lowest target share percentage that he's seen all season in that game. This is something, that we also kind of covered, pre NFL season, hey, the Packers, they got a lot of weapons, a lot. And even during the season, we see Tucker Kraft coming online, guys we didn't even think about. Right. So it just makes the ball get distributed more, and week to week, you don't know who to trust. So Jaden Reed, bro, it's tough, bro. I'd have to do some deep data to see if he's worth a start.
Look, if I'm in the playoffs next week and I'm not putting my faith on Jaden Reed at the flex. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I would not do that. Past few weeks, he's not been doing well. I don't know, man. Just move on. That's how I see it. Who do they have?
Well, yeah. It's just Seattle, I think, yeah.
Seattle, yeah, exactly. In Seattle, they have good secondary. I'll tell you that. They have, they have a Witherspoon.
Yeah,
Rulin,
solid.
Got the other homies, but
yeah. Hopefully, if you have Jaden Reed on your team, you have other alternative options you can pivot to. If not, man, roll the dice and good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, T. Higgins, 3.3 fantasy points, Monday Night Football. Jamar Chase took everything.
That was a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just Chase night. I'm not tripping over that.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about T. Higgins. Hopefully, he's snuck in the playoffs if you have him.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, Keenan Allen to go along with Caleb Williams, 4.5 fantasy points.
Fire BBTB start of the week.
Yeah, if you started him, hopefully you're still in playoffs.
When I literally said after, like, he can't sustain it, he has to come down, and boom, came down.
Brother, we've been saying about Joe Mixon. We've been saying about Chase Brown. Them homies ain't coming down. Okay.
But they're the starting RB on the offense.
They're RBs, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just saying.
A bit diffy.
Look, you guys got to feel my pain here. I used to be the first seed. Okay. I'm on a 3-game losing streak. And I started Amari Cooper over Keenan Allen.
No,
and I lost
last week.
Both weeks, last week and the week before. This week I start Keenan Allen and I bench Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper had a better game. And so I'm from the first seed, so I'm a little rough right now.
And that, my brothers, is called fantasy football. That's exactly how it works.
Pick the wrong week.
Every time. Deebo Samuel, 4.5 fantasy points, has looked very meager out there. Yeah, pedestrian.
Don't put him.
Do
you trust him any week from now on?
No.
Even in the flex?
Actually,
nope.
Let me take a quick gander at
maybe next week. First the Rams, Thursday night, prime time. He didn't play.
It would be a divisional game to go off on.
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Maybe Detroit, if they're still in it and they still need to win games. If they beat the Rams, right?
I don't know. I think they play him. I think you play him in the flex. Deebo Samuel Thursday night, just because he went.
Well, don't put him in your flex position. Put him in your wide receiver position.
But like like your third
as your third option. Yeah.
So Deebo Samuel, I think you can because he went crazy last year against the Rams. He didn't play against them this year because he was hurt that week 3. But yeah,
I'll say I'm not comfortable starting him this week if I have him. I'm not comfortable starting him any week. He's just done it again and again and again. It's like I just don't
have to play him. You're gonna have to play him. You know what I'm saying?
Look, they've had 3 tough matchups for receivers: Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago. Buffalo's in the snow. Like, I can see a bounce back week for Deebo
easily. I think this has to be a week for Deebo.
And they won without him against Chicago, right? And he didn't do much.
Basically.
So yeah, I think you could play him against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. I'm going to skip Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore got 4.9 fantasy points. Sorry if you started him. He seemed like a good start without Cedric Tillman there, but it all went through Njoku and Judy. So AJ Brown, 6.3 fantasy points. Not enough to get you into the playoffs if you have him. It's very unfortunate because he's going, end of first round in drafts, and the Eagles just don't need to throw the ball. And with Devonta Smith there, who caught the touchdown, and another tight end, Calcaterra.
I looked deeper into like all the weeks, and weeks 1 through 3, he was averaging 22 PPR points per game, and since then it's been 12 PPR points per game.
What? Wait, 1 through 3 didn't?
No, he was hurt. 2, 3, 4.
2, 3, 4. He was injured. So the first 3 weeks that he played, because he played week 1, then he got injured in practice before week 2.
You're probably saying the first 3 games because he had 20, 20, and 17.
The first, yes,
the first 3 games that he played. Okay.
First 3 games.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, it's dipped heavily. I mean, obviously we know why, because Eagles aren't
him though, bruh. That's what pisses me off. It's not.
It's not him. Nobody's saying it's him.
Dude, hey, so I'll tell you this, and it pisses me off that I had him and I didn't get into playoffs, but he's going to have himself a game next week. I'm saying right now.
Pitt. That's what I'm saying. They got to throw the ball. AJ Brown goes.
Because there's a video of him on the sideline talking to Devonta Smith, talking about, like, I'm not getting the ball, like shaking his head, like looking annoyed, like on the sideline. And so when your studs complain, they usually end up getting the ball. They will scheme up plays and get him into the end zone, or at least give him chances in the end zone. You're looking at a solid game for AJ Brown. If you're able to squeeze into playoffs with the terrible performances that he's been having, or with the mediocre performances, I say, and I'm not talking about mediocre performances of what he's doing on the field. I'm talking about just he has not been producing fantasy wise. Expect him to have a decent game next week.
Yep.
Next on the list, DK Metcalf, 6.9 fantasy points. It's looking like Jackson Smith and Jigba's team. DK is, bro. DK is. I mean,
I think MFB called him out last week MFB. Did you call him out last week when you were saying that DK Metcalf hasn't scored a certain amount of fantasy points against the Cardinals his entire career? Was that you?
Yeah, there was something I pulled up like that. Yeah,
like something like he scored like less than 8 fantasy points
historically. Yeah, it's been.
Scared of the Cardinals makes sense. Just kidding. Not what you expected of DK. Very unfortunate. And these players, the performances aren't terrible. But these are guys that you drafted early on, and you were hoping to have themselves a good game to like get you into playoffs and things like that. So,
like Marvin Harrison.
Who's next on the list? 6.9 fantasy points.
A Cardinal.
You know, a Cardinals player, yeah. When you're losing and you're down by a lot, don't throw to your top receiver or your tight end who's been killing it all season. Just run the ball and run the clock at home, by the way. In a divisional matchup where you need a win against these guys, let's run the ball. And then let's run it some more. Like, bro, someone had money on that game and they were like, we need to lose by this amount and this has to happen. Like, dude, there's no other explanation. Like,
brother,
I'm watching the game. I'm like, why? Why are you running the ball in the fourth quarter down 18 or down however many points? Like, what are you doing? I can't watch that team play. I can't. When they're doing stuff like that, no.
Yeah, the play calling could definitely use some work. Because I don't know what's going on there.
Bro, they're down like 20 points and they're like, oh, if we run, that'll help us get more points, bro. James Conner will carry us. He's basically McCaffrey. So let's just keep running the ball with James Conner.
Yeah, but the Vegas made the call. It's simple.
Dude, that was stupidity. Anyways, Marvin Harrison, if you made it to playoffs with him, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. They need Seahawks to lose and the Rams, but they're still going to be playing for a spot. So hopefully Marvin Harrison will be all right through the playoffs.
Yep.
On to the RB duds. Bucky Irving at the top, got injured, 2.3 fantasy points. Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco's kind of taken over there as he comes back and getting healthy, plus a tough Chargers defense. James Cook, in a game that Josh Allen went nuts, James Cook, 3.9 fantasy points. That has to hurt.
What's crazy to me is that Josh Allen had 3 rushing tutties, and the coach was like, nah, I'm not handing it to James Cook for a 1 or 2 yard tutty. That blows my mind. So
they were doing kind of like tush pushes, weren't they?
Basically,
they 1 yard line, yeah.
Basically,
yeah,
for sure. And Josh Allen,
that is weird though. I get what you're saying. I was wondering that too.
I'd have
bro, just give it to your running, or not even that. Like, okay, James Cook, kind of smaller build dude. Give it to Ray Davis. Like, somebody punch it in.
Somebody.
Josh Allen's showing off to his new fiance, recently engaged.
Josh Allen had himself on the money line or something, bro.
Bro, didn't he make a comment about having himself on his fantasy team post game? It might have been a joke, but it was after the snow game where he goes, yeah. Someone asked him, like, do you have yourself on your fantasy or something like that? He goes, yeah, I do. So, dude, if I knew that, he has himself on his fantasy team, man, I would have drafted him for sure, bro. I would have
yeah, okay, bro.
Anyway, players that play fantasy football and play real football in real life, and that say like, oh yeah, I have myself on my team. Like, bro, they're going to do everything they can to get more fantasy points. So, anyways.
But James Cook did, this is a weird stat because he saw 100% of the running back rushes, which was 6 rushes throughout the whole game. So
crazy.
Take that data with what you will, bro. I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully you were still able to make it into playoffs if you had James Cook. Next on the list, DeAndre Swift, 4.5 fantasy points. The Bears suck. Nick Chubb, 4.8 fantasy points. They play the Steelers, and it wasn't snowing this time. So that's that. Moving on to I'm trying to blast through these last ones.
I'm just laughing out. It wasn't snowing.
Yeah, well, I mean, he went 2 touchdowns in the snow, and then it's not snowing. Hey, you can't do anything. Onto the tight end duds at the top. Cole Kmet with a donut. Like we said, Bears suck. Will Dissly, who's been stepping up, got injured, and Justin Herbert got injured. So 2.9 fantasy points for Will Dissly.
Oh, okay, he got injured.
I'm throwing, some of these names are irrelevant, but I'm just throwing them in there. Mike Gesicki, 3.9 fantasy points. He's not that big on that offense. Noah Gray, who's been stepping up lately, 4.6 fantasy points. It all went to Kelsey. Evan Ingram, 5.3 fantasy points. He has Mac Jones throwing to him. And that does it for the tight end duds. You guys got anything on these guys?
Nah, Dissly's hurt going forward.
Avoid him.
That's about it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, that does it for the Studs and Duds episode. Look to the next episode for the week 15 waiver wire pickups, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.